Hello and welcome to On Purpose Astrology. This is the latest in a series of videos introducing you to the new astrological goddesses. And today I would like you to meet Eris. Eris was the Greek goddess of strife and discord. And here she is with her black wings looking ready for action. She was the sister of Ares, the warrior god. The astrological and Roman equivalent of Aries, of course, is Mars. So that gives us a little clue, along with strife and discord, on what her energy is like. She's the warrior woman, female divine warrior archetype. She was also the daughter of Nyx, the goddess of the night. So again, that's maybe a little clue, maybe something to do with the underworld and the night itself. Now, the myth. So let's look at the myth of Eris. When we have a newly discovered planet. She was actually designated a dwarf planet, and I'll go into why that was important shortly. When a new planet, dwarf planet, etc., is discovered, astrologers are really keen to start thinking about what that means symbolically. First place to look is the myth for some clues. Already we had the clue of strife and discord and the warrior woman, the warrior feminine energy. Then you can look at the discovery chart, and we will have a brief look at the discovery chart as well to see what aspects were going on, what was happening in the world at the time. And additionally, then we can research Eris's influence in various charts to see what themes emerge, and then follow Eris as it makes aspects to the planets in the sky again to see what world events happen and what happens to people personally while Eris is making connections with other planets. But the myth, let's see. Well, when Eris, the goddess of strife and discord, wasn't invited to a wedding on Olympus by Zeus because she was a troublemaker, she decided to make some trouble. She tossed a golden apple into the party to be given, she said, to the goddess judged to be the most beautiful. Zeus asked Paris, a mortal prince, a naive young man, to judge which of three goddesses was the most beautiful. Paris gave it to Aphrodite, astrological equivalent Venus, of course, because she bribed him. Aphrodite bribed Paris by saying, if you deem me most beautiful, then I will give you the most beautiful mortal woman in the world, which at the time was Helen of Troy. And this action led inadvertently, indirectly, to the Trojan War. So what can we say about Eris simply from the myth alone? Well, quite a lot actually. Rejection. Rejection and being abandoned, not being included, being outside, an outsider. But it's also about making a stand. Eris didn't retreat to her house, her cave, or wherever she lived and cry and feel like the victim and feel, oh, everyone, no one loves me. She didn't really care about that, but she was angry. So anger is another theme. She wanted to make a stand. She wanted to be seen. She wanted to be heard, and to hell with the consequences. She literally brought strife and discord. Obviously, that's where she gets her theme from, what she's famous for, because she did cause that strife and discord with this action, and a few other little myths, stories around her myth as well. She also perhaps tells us about exposing corruption, because it wasn't only Aphrodite who bribed Paris to gain the golden apple of being the most beautiful. It was also, Paris was also bribed by the other two goddesses. She's perhaps Eris, the truth teller. If she doesn't say it like it is, she shows it like it is. She shows us the length that people will go in competition to be better than someone else. But they will go as far as cheating, as bribery. She exposes that. She also tells us that chaos is natural, that we can't control everything. So when she threw the apple into the party, into the wedding party, it was like throwing a grenade into it. She couldn't stop the chaos that ensued. She couldn't control the chaos. And as humans, we like to have things in order. We like to have order. But order and chaos are along the same spectrum. We don't have one, we can't have one without the others. And perhaps that's one of the lessons of Eris that we could heed, that we can't control everything. And while some things we can control, and it's good to control things, when we can't control things, we tend to feel anxious. And that can also come out as anger because we don't like the way things are, the way we're treated. So the disruptor of the order of things is a really big theme for Eris. So what does that mean? Well, here is her discovery chart. So she was discovered in January, 5th of January 2005, 11:20 a.m. in Pasadena, California in the USA. Now, what was really interesting about her discovery is because she disrupted the order of the solar system for our understanding of the solar system. Here's a picture of Eris. Here's her moon here. Her moon was named Dysnomia. Dysnomia in the myth was Eris's daughter, the goddess of lawlessness. Again, that's another clue. But that's an aside because her discovery, as we said, led to disrupting the order of the solar system because they had to create a new category of planets called dwarf planets. So she was designated one of the new dwarf planets because she was the same size as Pluto, who was one of the planets from Mercury through to Pluto, are the planets. Because Eris was the same size as Pluto, scientists, after much debate and disagreement and consternation, finally decided to demote Pluto. So Pluto became not a planet, but was designated a dwarf planet. So you can see how she caused disruption to our order, our understanding of how we categorize and designate planets and dwarf planets and the trans-Neptunians and all these different things, because hundreds of maybe thousands of things in the far reaches of our solar system have been discovered in recent years. So she was originally nicknamed Xena, the warrior princess. If you can imagine, you can remember that TV show, Xena, the warrior princess, that was her nickname to start off with, before she was given a name that fitted with the Greek and Roman pantheon, goddesses and gods. Xena, the warrior princess, there we go. So she was discovered, as I said, January 2005, and was eventually named Eris. She was discovered in the sign of Aries. She was discovered where she was discovered, and when she was discovered, Aries was rising. So that's another big clue about this warrior energy, this female warrior energy, the balance of female warrior energy between the feminine warrior and the masculine warrior, which is Mars. That's a really interesting theme that comes through at this time. She's been in Aries since 1926 and will stay in Aries to 2048. So unless you're in your mid-90s, you will have Eris in Aries. Most of us will. And even your children, any children born up until 2048, will have Eris in Aries, which shows how far out in the solar system she is and how long her orbit is. Discovered in Aries, as I said, with Aries rising in the discovery chart, underlines that warrior energy because as a sister of Aries/Mars, she hasn't had much influence until now. There's always been the warrior energy, the feminine energy, females fighting for equality and for the vote, etc., and feminism itself. But even today in this modern world, there is, even in modern countries, countries that pride themselves on democracy and equality, it's often not a fair world for women. So she shows us that we must balance the warrior energy between men and women. And I'm not specifically talking about gender here because we all have, whatever our gender that we were born with or the gender that we choose to adopt that feels best for us. Whatever our gender, we all have the masculine, feminine, and the masculine, the masculine energy and the feminine energy. And as such, we all have that warrior energy, both masculine and feminine. And perhaps she's here to help us to find the balance between those two energies within ourselves and in the world itself. So she says something about the imbalance of power and equal rights. She says something about challenging the dominant patriarchy that we still have in this world. Remember, she threw that apple, that grenade, into that wedding. She's about female anger. She's reminding us that female anger is relevant and it's sometimes necessary and normal for feminine energy to feel and express anger in a world where historically and still now there has been a lot of intolerance towards female anger. Female anger is equated with not assertion as it is in the male energy so much as aggression or even madness. That female anger is unattractive. It's not nice, it's not polite, it's not pretty, it's not friendly, it's not agreeable, which is some of the things that women traditionally are expected to be. Now, interestingly, the astrologer Henry Seltzer, Selzer, I found an article by him on astro.com. You can put his name into astro.com and his article will come up. He's done a lot of research into Eris and looked at probably thousands of charts. And one of the things that he found was that Eris was very prominent in the charts of influential feminists, going back a couple of hundred years, right up to the modern time. You can, as I say, you can see his article. He also talks about it being strong in the charts of paradigm shifters. So perhaps Eris is here to shift the paradigm between the male and the female energy, the warrior female and the warrior male energy, and to find a new balance. His article is really brilliant. In terms of paradigm shifters, he talks about how in older times, the belief was that we were the center of the solar system of the universe and the sun and the other planets went around us. And when it was theorized that that wasn't the case, actually we went around the sun along with all the other planets, that was heretical. And eventually, obviously, it was scientifically discovered and confirmed that it was the case that the solar system has a star, our sun, Sol at the middle of it, and we go around it just like all the other planets. So we're not that special. So that really disrupted the paradigm. Have a look at that article. It really is good. So going back to feminism and the warrior, female warrior energy and Eris, she's symbolic of the fight for a better world for women. As I said, already challenging the patriarchy. That sometimes change needs someone to throw a grenade into things to really disrupt the current paradigm for things to change. And that this can lead to chaos and discord and discomfort. And we can't always control the outcome. She perhaps says something also about the breaking of generational and ancestral trauma. It's said that we all carry ancestral trauma from our parents in our DNA, but also going back a few generations. Perhaps she invites us to, again, let go, to say, I'm not having this. I'm not having this anymore. I'm not carrying this family trauma. I'm going to get rid of it. And I'm a bit angry that I have to, but I can heal it. And like all the new goddesses, hers then can ultimately be a healing message. That change does bring chaos. It does disrupt the balance of peace and equanimity, but essentially what is needed is balance and peace and equality as well. So then once we can disrupt and break the chains of generational trauma, there's always a person in the family that's kind of like a black sheep, isn't there, in every family, or a scapegoat in every family. And those are often the people who are disrupting the paradigms, the traditions, and they are often excluded. Maybe that's what they're here to do, although it's not easy, as we've seen. Eris got very angry. Once those traditions are broken, once those traumas are broken, then you can manifest all the goodness of what is in your DNA from your ancestral patterns, from your ancestral past, the gifts and the talents and all the good, juicy stuff. Now, as I was researching for this article to find some ideas, and also obviously my own ideas to verify some of my own ideas about Eris, I found an article on a website that talked about what Eris is like through all the signs. So it's saying if you've got Eris in Aries, it's this. If you've got Eris in Taurus, it's that. Gemini, the other. Cancer, etc., etc. Misinformation. That is misinformation. Because as I've already said, Eris has been in Aries since 1926 and will be in Aries until 2048. So unless you're in your late 90s, we have all got Eris in Aries. So as I said, perhaps misinformation is a theme for Eris. We shall see over time. As I said, it takes time for us to really, truly get to have a deep understanding of what these planets mean thematically and symbology in our chart. And for the world, of course. But if you're interested in knowing what Eris means for you, the best place to start is to look at which house Eris falls in your chart. So you can see it's in the first house in Aries, with Aries rising in the discovery chart. So this is primal Eris. This is the ego has that warrior energy. It'll be different through all the other houses. And I'll do a video about this when I've done a bit more research about Eris and the other new goddesses. I'll do a little bit of a video about what these planets, these new goddesses might mean through the houses in your chart. And the other thing you can look at is what aspects Eris makes in your chart and what transits as well, what transits are made to Eris in your chart. Eris itself moves so slowly, but you can still look at the planets that are moving a little bit more quickly and what happens when they touch Eris in your chart. So again, I'll discuss that hopefully in future videos when I've done a little bit more research. I really hope that you have enjoyed this introduction to Eris. I think she's an incredible, exciting and interesting energy. If you haven't seen the video about Sedna, which explores why we are all goddesses now, please look at that. And thank you to everyone who has watched, has liked, has commented, has given feedback and has subscribed. I really appreciate and love you all. Please subscribe if you haven't already, because I'm posting a couple of videos every week. Thanks so much. Love you all. Bye.